Last time we studied the Adhyatmic roop of Ganesha by saying Tvam Anandamayas, Tvam Brahmamayas, Tvam Satchidananda Advitiyosi, Tvam Pratyaksham Brahmasi, Tvam Jnanamaya, Vijnanamayas. And then when I went in great length to emphasize the value of Shraddha Bhakti, after reevaluating the Antaranga and Bahiranga sadhana that is necessary, and emphasize that Shraddha, as described by Adi Shankaracharya, is Shastrasya Guruvakyasya Satya Buddhi Avadharana iti Shraddha. Without the conviction, the words described in Shastras and the same which are expressed through the mouth of Guru had to be believed. And if they don't exactly match with your own thinking as a disciple must give a fair and due consideration to what the teacher says. And I again re-emphasize that the main problem is the individual's ego, with a bunch of conclusions already made by the individual. And what the disciple or that ego wants to do is only perpetuate his own conclusions. So if something said by the teacher goes against the perceptions one's ego, then there's a natural tendency to resist and to reject it outright. And student identification of the teacher, and through the identification of that teacher with the scriptures, is absolutely crucial, because only then the student can become objective to his own self. And I discussed how to go about doing it, because one cannot recognize one's misconception without being absolutely objective. So how do you create that distance? You create a distance by identifying with the teacher, then scrutinizing or looking at one's own conclusion about oneself from the standpoint of the teacher and the scripture. And that can only come about if you have a Shraddha, an implicit trust that what teacher is saying is correct and that he is my well-wisher. There is no reason whatsoever why the scriptures and my teacher should wish ill for me and should misguide me. I recognize that my teacher has no personal agenda and has no agenda for his student other than the teacher's commitment to make the student see the true self, Atman, that he is. And once that Shraddha is developed, then you can ask any question in a respectful way, tatviddi pranipatena pariprashtena, with respectful way. And then the teacher who is enlightened is able to teach the student the knowledge and the wisdom that it needs. And towards the conclusion of that comment, I said, often the question is asked, how do you find the Guru? When one discovers a Shraddha and Bhakti for a teacher, trust me, you have found the right Guru. It's only when God's grace, Deva Anugrah Hetukam, because of good merits and punya, have you found that individual who knows the subject matter and has nothing but the best interest in his heart to pass on that wisdom to you. And then we talked about bhakti, which is a commitment to knowledge. There's a certain amount of commitment and urgency, a wholehearted pursuit for that knowledge. That comes about when learns and discovers that with this knowledge, the individual's all problems of life would be solved. They simply would vanish, go away. And he will emphasize that your ignorance about your own nature is leading to one's unhappiness. because we always see ourselves as inadequate, wanting, and limited human beings, and hence we are unhappy. And when somebody tells you good about yourself, you feel nice, like you like that person and he likes what he's saying. What I'm trying to tell you is you are that Brahman that eludes you happiness and contentment that we are seeking as limited individuals is always with us. That's our own true nature. And the teacher will go on to convince you what you're looking for that elusive happiness and contentment is always with you because you are Tattvamasi. And that particular thing will come about with dhyana and meditation that we'll discuss in the next session. Now today we open up a one verse only. Sarvam jagadidam tvatto jayate. Sarvam jagadidam tattastishtati. Sarvam jagadidam tvai layameshyati. Sarvam jagadidam tvai pratyeti. That's on page 47 of that book or the soft copy that you have. This mantra says that the entire universe originates from you, O Ganesha. It is because of you that entire universe exists in you. It will eventually resolve in you. Tvatto jayate originates from you. Tvattastishtati exists in you. Sarvam jagam tvai layameshyati will eventually resolve in you. And this entire universe will finally become one with you. Sarvam jagadam tvai pratyeti. That's the simple mantra. The universe consists of countless phenomena, but the three most profound and fundamental phenomena are that of creation, sustenance, and annihilation. However marvelous and gigantic this universe may be, for the only subject that can objectify, known as consciousness awareness, this particular universe, is still an object. Remember, we can objectify this universe. The universe is still seen. And if the universe can be seen with the planets, the earth, the universe is seen and is seen by us, the seer or Atman makes that universe as an object. The universe, including the stars and galaxies, being the effect, must have cause beyond any known dimensions, such as even Father Time. The cause must be preceded by the effect. The God, Lord, Creator must precede this creation. The cause of the creation or the universe is twofold: material and efficient. The efficient cause is absolutely essential because the universe is very orderly, intelligently put together, as you know, most of you are scientists. It is symmetric and hence glorious and beautiful. It would be naive to think otherwise, to assume that material has organized itself in this particular form of universe, as some of the Sankhyas, the atheists, seem to be professing. Now, I'll just tell you a side story which might tickle your mind. You may have heard that the famous scientist Stephen Hawking was an atheist. In reality, he did believe in God. He was actually, in reality, agnostic. And one other interesting thing about him, he was born on the death anniversary of Galileo, and he died on the birthday of Albert Einstein. His interesting comment in his life was, he admitted that the absence of God cannot be proven, and remarked, if you find the answer to the question, why is it that we and the universe exist? Hawking said, we would certainly know the mind of God. Now, the efficient cause for such a creation is necessarily a conscious being, you can call it God, the only subject that allows us, all of us, to objectify everything. Here, this mantra in this Ganapati Upanishad says, and Ganapati is that efficient cause of this universe, just as the pot maker is for the pot. But then we need the material for the creation of this universe. The second statement of the mantra says that universe exists in Brahman, called Ganapati here, making it abundantly clear that none other than Brahman Ganapati is the material cause, since the effect continues to exist in the material cause alone, pot, and stays in the clay. The effect has no independent existence other than the existence of that material. The final statement of becoming one with you confirms exactly the same. Any effect has to reside in the cause. All these statements establish that Brahman is the efficient material cause of the universe. Just as waves exist in water, ornaments, all types of ornaments, different shapes and forms, exist in gold, and all kinds of parts exist in clay. And as we say here, the universe exists in Brahman. In this particular Upanishad, Ganapati Upanishad, Brahman, Ganesha is equated with Brahman. Now, Brahman as the material efficient cause of the universe is only tenable. Now, listen to it very carefully. Brahman as the material efficient cause of the universe is only tenable if Brahman is the awareness existence, and number two, the universe is the appearance and hence unreal. A perfect example, what I'm saying, is our own dream. We as conscious being, the dreamers, is both the efficient as well as the material cause out of which the dream world is created. When the conscious being is no longer the dreamer, when we wake up, the dream is no more. It disappears just as any false or imaginary entity without its creator or dreamer being in action. Here, the annihilation is presented in two stages. First is called pralaya, and when mahat goes also, unmanifest seed also disappears. It becomes pralaya. Final stage is pralaya. Now, next question basically comes, he's talking about what is Maya. I'm glad you asked that question. Before I get to that directly in about 1 more minute, thus this creation can come about either as a change or a modification in the substance from which it is made. Okay. Or two, which I emphasize, is by an error in which the real thing is mistaken to be for something else. The first example is when we make the parts out of clay, the clay changes into different shapes and forms of the parts. Clay turns in different shapes. Or when we put a little bit of lime juice or some liquid, the milk breaks into form of curd. So that's one way the transformation or modification takes place. The second example fits perfectly in current situation. That the second example is when we see snake into a rope. His cause, the ignorance of the rope. Therefore, in the darkness, the rope is mistaken to be a snake. Darkness in this ignorance. Since Brahman remains unchanged and cannot be modified, the second method of snake seen in a rope is the most appropriate way to understand. So Brahman is mistaken as Jagat by all of us. The ignorance, which is the cause of this creation of the world, is called Maya. Therefore, Brahman is mistaken as a Jagat because of that Maya. The Maya is the magic power which produces the impossible. The power of Maya seems to have produced this changeable world from this changeless Brahman. It is a power that cannot be and is not independent of Brahman. Now listen very carefully. Brahman is associated with Maya. Brahman associated with Maya becomes Ishwar. Manifested Brahman is Ishwar. Ishwar has the power of creation through Maya. Creative power is Shakti. That's why Shiva with Parvati, Vishnu and Lakshmi, we call it wife of God. It's not really the wife. It's basically is the Maya Shakti of the Ishwar. So that's the energy. Individual self is the awareness, identified with various bodies, various sheets. It is essential that Jiva is under the control of the Maya. Now remember, Jiva is under control of Maya, where Ishwar controls that Maya. The power of mind to create an objective world in the dream is comparable to the power of Maya of Ishwar, by which the entire Jagat is created. Now, Maya has three aspects: knowledge, Kriya, and the Jada. That's Karya, Karana. So, knowledge is Sattva, activity is Rajas, inertness is Tamas. That's why Maya, Shri Krishna described, is called Trigunatmika. Triguna Atmika, Sattva, Rajas, Tamo, Gunatmika. Since it is dependent upon Brahman, Maya is also called Brahmashraya, in the ashraya of Brahman. Let me elaborate further. Maya is basically ignorance, Adnyan. This Adnyan has two powers: Avarana Shakti, feeling power, like a pangurun, a blanket, and Vikshepak Shakti, projecting power. Let me elaborate. When we see snake, when there is a rope, two things are happening. One, I do not know that little thing that I'm seeing through my ignorance is a rope. That's ignorance aspect. Because of Pangrun, covering up veiling powers. And then projecting aspect, I see a snake where in fact is merely a rope, projection of a snake. It's called Vikshepa. So two, Avarana Shakti, wheeling power, Vikshepak Shakti, projecting power. So I don't know what that was, ignorance about the rope. And my projection, Vikshepak Shakti, projected it as a snake. So Maya or ignorance creates the projection, and that creates an image of a snake. I, as a human being, do not know who really I am. I'm Brahman. I take myself as a limited human being. It's merely a projection of on my part coming from my ignorance. This limitless self is deluded by Maya, avaranam, ignorance. Just as the mind is deluded by Maya, seeks the snake in the rope, this limited Atman or Brahman is turned into a limitless Brahman. Let me give you a different example. When we are awake, we have gross body. We also have Sukshma Sharit, mind, intellect, causal body, Karan Sharit. So when we are typically awake, our main identity for each one of us is with your body, Sthula Sharira. When we are dreaming, Tejas stage, we identify ourselves with the Sukshma Sharira. There are different sets of organs which are created in the dream. We can fulfill a lot of dreams, thoughtful, beautiful things that we cannot fulfill in real life in the dream. For example, the example that Swami, the Viditatvananda gave to me to you was, suppose there's a diabetic. He goes for a party. Lots of sweets are there at the end of the party. He wants to have rasgullas, but cannot eat them because he has to control on the mind, and comes home, goes to sleep. But when he is dreaming, he can create those rasgullas in his dream and enjoy them to the fullest. So that's the identity with the Sukshma Sharira, world of thoughts, and can be enjoying in that particular fashion. But at the same time, you've got to remember, as a physician, during that Sukshma Sharira, the state, in that dream state, the autonomic nervous system of the body still continues to function. For example, even if we have created the organs, if I'm imagining that the tiger is chasing me in the Serengeti plains, as I explained to you, my heart rate quickens, my pulse rate increases, I start sweating, my body temperature goes up, and actually measure it, my blood pressure goes up. That happens, but that is created by the different set of organs that I've created by myself in the dream state. Now, when we are in deep sleep, called Sushupti, there is no identification with the gross body. There is no identification with the Sukshma Sharira. Only thing that is present is the Karana Sharira. This wheel of ignorance is there. Well, personality merges into that organ. That individual is nothing but ignorance is covering that Jiva, which is Brahman. Jiva is still living. The Jiva is not dead. Everything remains intact. Only thing that is covering it is ignorance, the tamas. The Jiva, Karana Sharira, is nothing but ananda, happiness. Stays in contact, merged with the true nature. And when he wakes up with that ignorance of avaran of ignorance is there, then identifies with Sthula and Sukshma Sharira, he says loudly, happily, oh boy, did I sleep really well. I didn't know a darn thing happening during my sleep. And he feels refreshed, he's recharged and rejuvenated. Because during that deep sleep, he was in contact with nothing but the happiness, which was nothing but the Brahman. As a matter of fact, if you see Shri Krishna's comment to Vidura in the Srimad Bhagavatam 4.7.51, I referred to it last time, about 2 sessions ago. Shri Krishna telling it to Vidura, Atma Mayam Samavishya Soham Gunamaim Dvija Srujan Rakshan Haran Vishwan Dadre Saudnyam Kriyochita. Hey Vidura, reflecting in my Maya, the universal power, composed of 3 gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, I create this universe. I sustain it and I annihilate it. I assume 3 names in accordance with the acts I perform. Such statements are present in every other scripture. The Lord may be called Vishnu or Shiva, but he is called Ganapati. In this Upanishad, the difference is only in the name. I will open up for discussion at this particular time, because I think I've given up quite a bit of discussion about Maya at this particular time. And I want to get questions and try to elucidate as to which way we need to go.
Thank you. Thank you, Shashi. I just want to recall what you said last couple of sessions and raise a question. You talked about the 7 steps to self-realization, starting with Viveka, Vairagya, Shat-sampati, and then culminating in Nididhyasana, on the mantra given to you by the Guru, until you reach a stage where you observe nothing but pure silence. And then you realize that is your nature, Satchidananda Swarupa.
Yeah.
There are millions and millions of people in this earth, even in India, who do not have the blessings of having a guru. Many of them have never heard of the word Upanishad. They know nothing about Viveka, Vairagya, and Shat Sampat, but they are faithful to their Ishta Devata. They go to the temple, pray to Lord Ganesha, or Ishvara, or Vishnu, according to their Ishta Devata, and they perform all rituals to the best of their ability. They go on pilgrimages, and they are good people. Shankara, in his Viveka Chudamani says, you can recite Om Namah Shivaya all the time, but that's not going to help you achieve self-realization. You can go on pilgrimages, that is not going to help you. You can pray as much as you want to your Ishta Devata, that is not going to help you. The only thing that's going to help you is to follow the 7 steps, Viveka, Vairagya, and Shat Sampat. Yet, when you read Vishnu Sahasranamam, in the Parashruti it says, if you recite the Vishnu Sahasranamam morning and evening, it will allow you to cross over the ocean of samsara. Even in the Ganapati Upanishad, in the end it says, Dharmartha kama moksham cha vindati.
Right.
If you recite regularly with faith and bhakti, then you fulfill the Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and finally moksha. So my question is, what happens to these people? Will they ever get? Do I believe in the Parashruti of all the Vishnu Sahasranama and Ganapati, or do I follow Shankara's dictum, which says you cannot achieve Atmajnana unless you follow Viveka, Vairagya, Shat Sampati, and Nididhyasana? And that's a question I don't know the answer to. The one appeals to my intellect, Shankara. This appeals to my heart. I would presume that millions of people who have had no access to these scriptures, the thing that appeals to their heart is to pray to their Ishta Devata. So I don't know the answer.
I think you have a very intelligent question, but only thing I can tell you is when we talk about Parama Ishvara, which I mentioned to you is basically created from Brahman as a to Maya, it should also, we must remember how he leads the human beings or living beings. Now, Shri Krishna says in the 9th chapter, I think 10th verse, Maya Dhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam Hetu Nanena Kaunteya Jagad Viparivartate. With me as the presiding presence, the Prakriti, the Maya, the world of movables and immovables, because of this reason, Kaunteya, the world undergoes changes. It is in my presence that Prakriti and Maya creates, sustains, and dissolves ultimately. Ishvara is of the nature of presence. Presence that is complete, full, and so powerful that everything automatically takes place. The presence itself is enough. If Parameshwar is needed, more than that, the Parameshwar will exhaust itself, because here Brahman or the Parameshwar remains untouched. So basically, the way I look at it is that Brahman acts like a powerful magnet. The magnet works and allows the filings to move, we human beings. It is like a gravitational force that continues the movement in an appropriate fashion of all the heavenly bodies. So this is how the Brahman works. And it is our lack of recognition as to who we really are is the reason why we find unhappiness. We think we're incomplete, but in the reality, we are nothing but Atman, or the same as Brahman. Having understood what your true nature is, Prasanna, then you can talk about Atmanye Atmana Tushta Sita Pratyasya Doshate. The one who grounded Pradnya is because he knows, she knows, that is nothing but Atman. And Atman is Brahman. So once you realize that you are complete by itself, then all the material things that we tend to go after to make ourselves complete no longer interest us, because we know whatever you are seeking is right with you. So the idea to understand is this is only a Maya Nagari, the creation by just the way in our dream world we create the world. Brahman itself has created his creation, and the creations are there. But if we really have to go out to fulfill our destiny, if you want to call it, is to realize who we really are and snap out of that ignorance. As I told you, we have the Sthula Sharira, where you got Sukshman, the Avaran inside, the Sukshman, basically Adnyana Sharira, Avaranam we call it, Adnyat Sharira, Adnyanam. Then in the imagination, in the dream world, you create your own world. But when you are fast asleep in Sushupti Avastha, there's nothing else except the wheel of ignorance is there. So you are in your own true nature connected with that. At that particular time, Prasanna, you yourself as a living entity is connected with Brahman. So you are Brahman connected, sleeping next to that Brahman. And that's the reason, just like your iPhone gets charged when it's recharged overnight, so too this living body, human being, is refreshed, recharged, rejuvenated, because got a dose of Brahman overnight. So what we really are a Brahman. So once we come to realize that we have no limitation, we ourselves are Brahman, in that understanding, we are at peace. We're not going after any other material thing. That does not stop you from continuing to things that you do. If you're a doctor continuing to help the patient, so that's fine. But you are at peace. When you're a professor of physics, engineering, teaching in the university, you continue to do that. It's a privilege to teach them. But in your mind, you know who you are. Atmanya Atmana Tushta. So doing the things that you do is superficial. But knowing who you are, in that knowledge, you are at peace. So eating the chapati, the sambar idli, that's fine. That's not a big deal. It's not going to be changed. You don't need to change your diet habits. But what you're going to change is your attitude. Attitude as to who you are, who you know you are at peace. You have achieved what you were seeking. You're already there, but you don't know. But you have the trust in the teacher, and he or she is able to elucidate to you, and through personal experience, then then at that time, you go Atma Anugraha. Then you go inside, then we'll talk about the meditation part of it. Then you will be able to see that what the teacher was teaching was true. By George, I got it. I understand what my teacher was trying to teach me. I'm at peace. I'm complete. I don't need anything else. That is what I'm talking about. So that is exactly what there's nothing contradictory to what you're doing. The thing is, Ishvara is basically is the Maya projection of Brahman. If that is the connection you have, that's perfectly fine. There's names are fine. But with the knowledge as your true identity, be at peace, Atmani Atmanatrishta. You continue doing what you're doing, you're not changing anything, except you know who the heck you are. You're not going after something more to be happy. You know you got it, what you're seeking, and you're at peace. I don't know.
Luckily, I know who I am.
Good.
Ye Atmani Sthitaha Prasannaha.
Yeah.
So my name means one who is established in Atman.
Exactly.
That I know. Thank you very much.
Hello, this is Madhavi.
Hi, Madhavi. Good.
Hi. So I actually had two things to say. One thing is about your discussion just now with Prasanna ji. So when you were talking, it occurred to me that, the question that he asked about somebody is praying to Ishta Devata without access to scriptures or guru. It's like, somebody is at one point of the earth, and you talked about the magnetic force of Brahman. So the magnetic force, if you look at us on earth, somebody is in India, somebody is in US, the force is acting at the center of the earth. So whichever way, I think the essence is the one-pointed devotion. If our vector of attention and devotion is directed to the center of the earth, like the gravity where the Brahman is pulling us, it doesn't matter, which direction it is pointing, as long as even from India versus somebody in US, the directions for both would be seemingly different, but they are pointed towards the same center of gravity.
Absolutely.
So that was one thing that came to my mind. And second thing is, when you were talking about that example of the Rasgulla, just a curiosity question ran through my mind that if a tiger is running and our heart rate and all that increases in the Sukshma Sharir, what about the Rasgulla? Does it raise the sugar?
There is no measurement there. That's fine. But I think the key is basically, since you're going to talk about Santa Vangmaya afterwards when you go to India, it doesn't matter whether you know the big nomenclatures or not.
Yeah.
As long as you are at peace with yourself, you know that you got what you're looking for. You connected with any identity. Even if you look at the stone on the corner and you're able to see the divinity, because that stone itself is divine itself. And when you're able to identify that stone as the Ishvara or the Brahman's Maya and have that connection and realize that you got everything that you need, you don't need anything else. It doesn't matter. Nomenclature is superficial because in order to make people understand, but what everybody has to understand on his or her own way that he or she feels most comfortable. The reason why you have discussions is because the people who are expressing it have experienced it themselves. They're at peace with themselves. And what they're trying to do is help others if they are interested in learning. Okay? Good question. Thank you, Madhavi. I'm glad you were there.
Enjoying your talk.
And Dr. Sane, I think the remarks by Shankaracharya originate from, we know that there are 4 paths to self-realization. Bhakti Marg, Karma Marg, our path of meditation, yoga, and then there is Gyan Marg, knowledge. So he's coming from the Gyan Margi. So is it's always that, if someone is focused on one, other things don't work that much. It's like, okay, this is the only way it'll work. Because people who are doing the bhakti marg can achieve the goal of self-realization. It's like, someone who loves and totally devotes to a divinity. It's like, seeing Krishna in everything, or seeing Ganesha in everything, or even in other religions, not like Hinduism, they are totally devoted, and if they can be good, yes, they are achieving to an extent. But of course, not everyone who reads Bhagavad Gita creates an atom bomb, because they realize what the Brahman is and what can be done. But maybe it takes a Copenhagen to, get to that level and physically understand and generate something out of it. I think even people who are doing the karma marga or with the meditation, everyone can achieve the same thing, which is, kind of self-realization or being one with the divinity or the super consciousness. That's a comment.
You're absolutely right. Only thing you got to remember is that in the process of bhakti marga, in process of karma marga, trying to help others, process of meditation, one has to realize that the individual as he or she is none other than Brahman. If you are able to identify with the ultimate divinity through your process, then you have achieved it. If you have duality, then you have problems. You understand what I'm saying? If you have separation, then you don't have the same peace. You understand? But at least you have to have Vishishta Advaita, where talk about at least this is Pullinga. That means Deha Buddhya to Daso, devotee, that's good. Jiva Buddhya Tvadam, we are jivas. We are nothing but that little spark of divinity once you realize that Brahman. But once you understand Atma Buddhya Tvamevaham, at the level of Atman, I'm nothing but Brahman. We have that understanding and find the peace with that particular fact. Whether you come through the process of intense devotion, bhakti, through meditation, Rajamarga, social service, helping others, maintaining no biases, no malice, no tendency to hurt anybody else, nothing but love and support, caring for others, all the values you assign to divinity, and you practice in that particular fashion. It doesn't matter what direction you achieve, as long as you understand the ultimate tip where the Brahman is. So you're absolutely right.
My only concern is this kind of feeling or decision you can reach when your body or is fully protected by others, because it's like, only in a safe environment you can be humanitarian and do this and do that. But once you are put to a situation where other people affected by Maya are in a attacking mode, so you can't be safe. In that case, feeling of self-realization and others, that doesn't work for you. I mean, as a person, in that case, you have to be, again, get into the situation of, being under the influence of Maya. It's like, when your country is safe, yes, you can be humanitarian. That's what is the truth in the Maya world.
You're absolutely right. The thing is, ultimately, you have to understand what your potential is. Your potential, you're none different than divinity. What method you use to realize it is entirely up to you. The reason why I use teacher, because that individual has already reached that level of understanding and is willing to share. Not everybody is able to share it or wants to share it. The key is to find the peace and happiness and contentment. And that's what I'm trying to help as much as I can over the time. There's nothing wrong in using different methods, and all methods ultimately reach the same as long as you realize that you as an individual jiva is complete. As long as you understand that by any particular means, without hurting anybody else, you find peace for yourself. then you find.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Sane.
Anandi Bala, are you still there?
Yeah, we are here. Thank you. We are listening. Thank you.
No, I think the thing is, do the prayers as you're doing. I'm very, very happy that Banandi is at home and continue to pray. I think you are wonderful human beings and you'll be able to find the peace. So happy to see you in face and so happy you're at home. So I think
Thank you.
it doesn't matter what particular method for his Shiva, that's fine. Ultimately, it's the same. Shiva Parvati, Shakti is the Maya. Shiva is the one who creates the entire universe as it is. And once you realize combination of Shiva and Maya as you're sitting next to one another and realize that this appearance is nothing but Brahman. So we have already achieved so-called apraptasya praptam. So you already achieved what you already had with you, but you did not know. I can tell you a story where there was a pregnant lioness who was shot by a cruel hunter, think as a trophy. Unfortunately, the lioness died and little baby cub was born, and the caring sheep took that little cub with them, and that cub grew amongst them, started even learning how to do bang, was happy with them. Till one day a big lion came and all these sheep got scared and started running away. And the lion saw that little mid-sized lion cub amongst them and stopped him. Come, what are you doing here? And then he brought that cub to the water with him. He said, do you see my image here? See my image in the water? See, now see your image in the water. And that cub was able to see that lion image was his own. So a teacher is doing is exactly same. He's bringing you to the water and making you see that you are not just an ordinary human being who's lacking something, but in reality, you have all that it takes. Mm-hmm. And be happy, be proud, be content. You got it. By George, you got it. So that's exactly what Tattvamasi is. The teacher is trying to teach the student or disciple or whoever is willing to learn. Label doesn't make difference. It's basically he's already been on a train. He's getting that person off the platform, giving the hand, and bringing that particular individual on the same train, ultimately returning back to Brahman's abode. So I'm glad you're here. I'm so happy that both of you are here and listening to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sane.
Sure.
That, in this audience, if you see that, in the same lecture when Dr. Sane says, okay, Krishna is also saying, okay, I am the Supreme Brahman. And the Ganesh is also saying, I am the Supreme Brahman. And no one raises the question about it, right? In a Abrahamic world, it will be, okay, there can be only one God. There's going to be so much conflict, right? But here, everyone has evolved to understand. So I'll congratulate everyone on, in this audience that, this is something we have stepped forward above.
Everything is Brahman, exactly right. The thing is, as a matter of fact, to confuse you further, we talk about 14 famous Upanishads. Some people talk about 108 Upanishads. The current number is about 300 Upanishads. Basically, the teacher teaches the students Tattvamasi. He gives different examples, different stories, but ultimately, the person who are willing to learn, willing to understand that whatever you're seeking, you already got it. Whatever you're trying to accomplish is already been accomplished by you, but just turn inwards and remain Atmanye, Atmana Trishta. Well, thank you guys.